Hey guys,
Amazing.
sorry about the delay. Just traveling at the moment. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here. You're in US right now, or you're in Southeast Asia? You were in Southeast Asia. I saw that was kind of crossover. I didn't expect with the network school, but yeah,
I'm I'm actually in New York City today. Just got out of the
yeah.
Nasdaq. Some friends were taking the company public, so I'm like right across from Times Square over there
Oh,
with all the
nice,
screens. So yeah, just about to catch a flight back to Austin. How you guys doing?
amazing. So something I have to tell you, like we are live right now. So like you just joined into the action, and we would be speaking about
Cool.
especially agents, and you guys have been doing that for quite some time, so uh, be it would be traditionally amazing to have you guys in this. And like the questions are around like what is happening with the agentic space, and in terms of technically, like we have saw this shift of people coming onto it, and we have Saurabh who represents Skynet, we have RG who represents Repo, and David represents Morpheus, and I represent Spheron. So this whole stream is put to faces to different projects out there which have been creating something on the agentic space specifically. And the very first question is like, have you seen a shift post this new wave of agent that picked up like in January and February? And now you can see that there is a whole lot of correction that is happening with the whole uh, agentic space per se. Like, what's your view on that? Like, how do you see it now, and what do you see like in terms of correction, in terms of what is going to happen with the market right now, and moreover, specifically on the agentic side? Anybody can take this.
So So I would say that agents have come a long way, right? They were sort of a novelty last year, right? People were, creating very simple agents, and now they're getting much more complex. And with integrations from Coinbase on 402, and other standards like MCP and A to A coming out, the power of the agents is increasing, right? And so we've seen a big move towards multi-agent systems where the agents can talk to each other, whether they can access tools, whether they can connect to other services. And the power of the models is increased in parallel. So, I think this is really the year of the agent. And we're seeing this explosion. Last time I saw there are now 8,000 MCP connected services that are accessible to agents. So a few dozen, then it was a few hundred. It's really increasing.
And until then, somebody can fill up into this buffer, like
Yeah,
RG and Saurabh.
yeah. Saurabh, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, I mean, when the agent, the wave picked up from last December to Jan, right? Most of the things which we saw going to 100 million or something, most of them were basically chatbots, I would say. Uh, the more sophisticated versions of chatbot where, a 2D model is giving responses and, that was assigning glitter at that particular point of time. And the whole narrative when that these are the agents. After this they shake down, if you see the tokens for which the teams were building the real agents, the teams which has realized that there is a fundamental difference between an agent and a chatbot just answers to your queries, whereas agent gets something done. So people realize that, okay, these are not agents, we need something which gets something done, right? And now we are seeing the teams which are building, and I would say from Jan to today the tooling has increased a lot. As David was talking about MCP, I mean that's just phenomenal. We do at Skynet, we have built our custom MCP client, so we can integrate any MCP servers out there. So the framework which MCP provided has helped Skynet agents get access to 8,000 tools out there just at once, right? In Jan, it was very difficult that you need to build each integration for each particular tool. but now the things are much more simplified. That is the reason why we are seeing a new whole wave of productive agents, where people are calculating how much time it is saving me, how much money it is making me, how much easier it's gonna make my life. If it is not doing any of this is not particular agent, and it's just losing the vaporware. So yeah, I mean, agent space has come very far in 6 months, and I believe in the next 6 months it's gonna be way ahead from where we are now.
And do you feel like, Arji, what do you feel on this? Like, because you have been building Repo for quite some time, and we have been seeing Repo doing a lot of amazing stuff, specifically on agents. Like, what's your viewpoint on this newer version of this agentic shift?
Yeah, so I think David and Saurabh hit it on nail in terms of the architectures and the evolution that has happened in agentic frameworks and the core building blocks. I think one of the core things that we're, so Repo is mostly focused on the data AI coordination part, and one of the things we're focused on as we're moving to these agentic systems, swarm of agents, we still lack ways to evaluate, to benchmark, and assess how good an agent is. I think that's like really where Repo shines. The word Repo really is, it's almost a spin on reputation. That's our kind of roots as well in Filecoin. So the kind of the next kind of phase for us is thinking about how do agents go from just doing things to actually so from just doing tasks on behalf of humans, how do agents go to create things on behalf of humans, right? And so I want to reference OpenAI's kind of like 5 levels of AGI framework. The 5 levels are chatbot. Then you had, I believe I think agents are number 3. So agentic system is level 3. I'm forgetting what level 2 is. Then level 4 is AI innovation. So AI basically coming up with the innovative ideas by itself. And level 5 is AI basically running organizations. I think generally people agree that we're on level 3 right now. And what Repo is really focused on is how do we move from level 3 to level 4. So what you'll see on Repo.ai today is we're trying to move from level 3 to level 4 while keeping the incentives for creators and the data creators in the pipeline, and also creating new benchmarking data and evaluation data between through this creator voter interaction. So the crux of this agentic revolution that's happened, really accelerated this year, and that's gonna accelerate next year as well, is we believe that we need a more verifiable, open ways to understand how are agents performing, which agent B, agent A, agent B, agent B, agent C, like which one's better at doing what task. At the end of the day, we really believe in agent marketplaces where people might build their own agents, but there will be a world where people will just use Saurabh's agent or use David's agent because it's so good. But we just need some sort of reputation mechanisms. I don't think it's going to be just stars and like what we use for Google reviews. I think it's going to be more complex, definitely verifiable. So yeah, that's kind of like what my take is on it.
But like what decentralization offers to this, because eventually just to get a lot of retail to utilize it, you feel like you need to have a lot of is it performant enough? Is decentralization doing things which is performant enough in today's world, which eventually helps you, which eventually helps any user to be out there and utilize an agent and say, voila, I'm using a decentralized agent because there are so many good agents to choose from. But in complete honesty, it's not like that, it's always okay, we are very sovereign and we provide this, we provide that, and we provide censorship resistance, and we do everybody's trying to pick. There was a trilemma, especially blockchain, and now there is one more thing which has been induced by we can do this, but your agent won't be able to do that. So how do you create agents which tend to lose out on all of which not lose out lose in to all of this kind of conundrum which is around agents? specifically? And again, open space, anybody can jump in and answer. So yeah.
So I think you have the right question, which is what makes decentralized AI compelling, and I think the answer is ownership. All the big tech companies want to rent me intelligence. I want to own intelligence, and I want to own the outputs, and I want to own the prompts, and I want to own the knowledge that comes out of my interaction with my AI. Right? The same reason I own a smartphone. I'm not using a company phone because I want to own the context and the context when I go to my next job. Right? I don't want to lose all of my apps every time I switch employment. Right? And so for the same reason that we've got to everybody owning a personal phone, I think we're going to have every person owning a personal AI. And Web3 is the only way to do that, right? I need a private key where I control the wallet, and that's my access to my agent. That's my access to all of the things I've done agentically. So I think, ask not what AI can do for Web3, ask what Web3 can do for AI. It's a good quote I heard recently, right? And I think that's the key, because none of them are going to build this model. Google's not going to build a model where I get to own the outputs, right? They want to monetize my data. They want to sell it to advertisers. They don't want to give that to me, right? So we have to build a new system where we can actually own the outputs. And that's the difference, right? And the other big thing I would say is I have it forever. The same way if I own a private key for some Ethereum, nobody can take it away. It doesn't go away. As long as the Ethereum blockchain continues operating, I've got that ETH forever. Right. And I want the same thing for my AI. If I have the key, I never want it to go away. Right. Just like I pay to store all my photos and videos and everything I've done, I don't want to lose that. Yes, privacy is important, but I think actually permanence is the big thing that people miss out, because as soon as it's permanent, then it's composable, then I can build on it. Just like Ethereum released all these smart contracts, then you can build on each new smart contract. Those contracts are never going away. Right, that's infrastructure I'll always have access to. So for me, that's the big thing. Is it permanent? Will I have it forever? Do I own it?
Yeah. I mean, like, that's a big sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, very true. Expanding to what David said, everything boils down to why Bitcoin was needed at the first place, because we realized that money is something so fundamental that we cannot let few people own it. And over a period of time, we have seen multiple examples where banks have frozen your fund, governments have frozen your fund, only because they do not agree with you. So that was the reason why Bitcoin came into existence, because we realized that we need a way to keep my money with myself. Now, expanding to this, if you see what has happened in the last 10 or 20 years after the emergence of cloud applications, games, is big tech find a very lucrative business model in which you get the money, but you do not provide the services, as in you do not need to transfer anything. For example, if you are a small business owner, you are building something, right? And when you are selling it, if you are selling a book, you have an input cost of, let's say, $1. You are giving the book to the customer, you get $2 back. $1 is your profit. Now, what the business model of companies like Facebook, Google, and all these companies has been, you give something, you do not transfer the book, but in your register you mark that this book belongs to this person, and there are infinite copies of that book, right? So essentially, you are not transferring the value. I mean, the reason why 3-4 years back NFTs came into existence and everyone was so bullish about that, because especially in gaming, the gaming industry is hundreds of billions of dollars, right? They sell everything out there, but you are not the owner. The moment the game closes down, you lose all your assets for thousands of dollars. Now, that was more of an entertainment focused. In AI is, I would say, the defining tech of this era. And the ones who control intelligence will control the world. Because, I always say there are some level of people who believe some things. So, for example, those who are not I would say those do not have a lot of common sense, they tend to believe everything which they see on their messages, right? They see a message saying that give me your OTP else your bank account will be drained, and they get scared and they give the OTP and they lose the money because they believe that whatever text they are receiving is true. Then there is a level in which people do not believe on all the texts, but they believe on what they see on Google or Twitter. You know, you must have encountered people who will be like, I saw this on Twitter or I saw this on Google. This must be right. They are open to argue with you because they do not know how the SEO works, or you can put your stuff out there or Google can do something. Now there is a third category of people who are emerging who completely believe in AI. Whatever ChatGPT gave, ChatGPT cannot be wrong. And we need to understand that if tomorrow, ChatGPT has so many different verticals right now that they are gonna get into consumer, they are gonna get into education, and they are gonna get into every
Yeah.
sector out there. Do we really think that ChatGPT won't do the changes with the outputs to favor them or their subsidiaries? It's evident, right? The way Google did it, ChatGPT will do the same. But the difference here is Google impacted billions of people in certain way. The impact of ChatGPT will be 10x higher. So we cannot let the same thing which has happened in the past. And to literally stop this, we need better way. And the only better way which we have now, you need to build a consensus around something, and blockchain is where the whole thing converges. So David rightly said, it's not about what AI gets with Web3, it's what Web3 gives to the AI. So I do believe this is very, very important. And with the whole agents where you're gonna hand them funds, they're gonna do certain tasks for you. So unless and until you do not own it, it's not verifiable, then still the story gets repeated, and ultimately the loser is going to be consumer.
Insane. Like when I think about it, it's pretty insane. And like, Aji, what are you gonna want to add on this? Like, I think this is the point. This is a thread which we have been following on, like in decentralization. But what's your take on this as well?
So I think my take is a little controversial. I think that it's not about like Web 2 agents versus Web 3 agents. I think like if we go into that, then we'll get into the same kind of fight that we've been with in the last 10 years, where we're trying to figure out, okay, like trying to get people to be like, oh, choose this framework, choose Web 3 over Web 2 because it has all these philosophical and benefits. I think what we need to also start doing is try to see where Web 3 shines. So that's something, of course, from Repo's perspective, what we're doing is we're saying, look, from my perspective, AI into crypto is good for only two things: verifiability and crypto incentives. So essentially using incentives to crowdsource, in our case, feedback data to crowdsource, the projects like Anom are doing intent. Spheron, of course, is using to crowdsource compute. And I think those are two things that we sort of have PMF. I think a lot of projects last year and that exists, we haven't seen PMF where people tried to build a crowdsource AI modeling layer, specialized models and all that stuff. So where I'm going with this is what we're saying is, okay, let's create outputs using Web2 AI and then use Web3 incentives to get feedback. So starting with very specifically and saying, okay, RLHF data is super useful. Companies are spending billions of dollars in RLHF data. Web3 can help us build a decentralized scale AI, a decentralized Surge AI. Let's start there. Let's collect the data first, and monetize it with Web2, right? So instead of saying that we will collect our data and build our own model, start to show that this data is good enough for Web2 companies, and then eventually go build your own foundation model on Web3 rails. I think one thing, and I think the biggest takeaway from me from this whole, what's happening with Web3 and AI is we should use Web2 companies as our testing ground. And I think instead of using them as our opponents or being like, oh, they're bad, they're so evil, we should say if Web3 can create data, Web3 can create models, Web3 can have compute that can be used by Web2, like then I think that then you can talk about, okay, now I'm going to build a decentralized, kind of a prime intellect like, crowdsourced model. That's more believable, and more from a user perspective as well. So for me, I think that's my kind of take, that use Web2 AI companies and projects and users as a customer or as a user for Web3 in Web3 based systems, use that as like the proving ground, and then move to Web3 to like be fully on chain. I think that's kind of like, I think if we try to be on chain right away, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm just saying like it's a lot difficult because you just get a different set of users, and it's hard to like have the escape velocity.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a tangible approach too, like because I feel like what we have done is that the comparison cycle of like Web3 versus Web2 is eventually not helping like anyone, I feel. Like because we always put ourselves in those shoes where we have to be good enough, right? Like good enough for a user, good enough to be like what I somehow feel like it becomes a thing of comparison by like we have created this perception of reality, as Saurabh mentions me, like we have created this perception of reality that we are fighting the good fight and they are the evil ones. But the thing is, like if AI hadn't been this fast and MCP hadn't been catch up so fast, Web3 wouldn't have reached there. So it's a flywheel. And eventually, like I feel like whatever we are creating is very synchronous to each other. Like I was gonna go like what Morpheus is doing, what Repo is doing, what Skynet is doing, and what Spheron is doing. It's very cohesive, right? Like it's something like which at the end of the day, if I'm gonna be like really honest, you guys are gonna hate me for this, for me for saying this. We are different parts of AWS. Like like in the whole idea and theory, in theory of things, like we are of different departments. Like somebody's doing agent, somebody's doing such kind of things, and believe me, like, and we need some kind of cohesion to work upon. But I would still choose to do something which is actually for the users, because maximum extraction is not how technology should feel. And I think I remember like the first time I met David, and when he told me about Morpheus, and like I was very very intrigued by that like what we can achieve via technology specifically, like because I think that is some kind of commodity we shouldn't take from people because it was created by people, like most democratized thing out there. So coming back to what strategically we should do, like if somebody is watching this and they want to create something more on the agentic side and get started on it, like what do you feel are things and steps one can take to eventually like we can take today? Like I can go and I can take that step today. Like Saurabh, RG, and David, like I would need your, like you are the best people in the whole world to answer this. So yeah, everybody
I
jumped
mean,
onto this. Yeah,
okay.
I mean like
uh, the thing which you told, right, that the comparison is, I would say, not very right. Web 2 agents versus Web 3 agents, or we are not making them feel evil or something like that. I still say there are some facts. The whole world revolves around how you present things, how you make things easier, because for consumers, when you are gonna, on a scale of 1 billion, 2 billion, or 5 billion users, like all these companies have, you need to be extremely, I would say, simple, easier to use. And on top of that, all these companies, all the products, they have different set of gamifications, loops, network effects, so a lot of it. Everything boils down to how we see, because every tech, everything has its own users, right? Linux is open source. Linux is uh, widely used by a certain number of people. People keep abusing Windows. It is slow, uh, but still there
Yeah.
are users, right, who find ease in installing Microsoft Office. That is their winner product. So ultimately they have a bunch of users. So everything boils down to what kinds of users you are catering to. Obviously there are gonna a lot of users who want to move good amount of money, and they prefer, let's say, teas for that purpose, right? uh, there can be a lot of people who want the most simple product out there. Now Web3 is also in the phase where you can create web 2 interfaces, web 2 like interfaces, but still we are far little. So now coming back to the users listening to this, any key things which they can do. I would say our whole idea with Skynet is to let anyone create agents, because we have realized it ourselves within our team that the specific need of different persons is very different. And obviously there is a lot of tooling available right now for building agents, a lot of them, and many of them are phenomenal, they are very good. But the number of developers out there, it's quite scarce, right? And if you take a new framework or new take and you want to just try it out, it has a learning curve. Now till the point you move ahead the curve, you lose interest in trying that thing, or even prototyping or building your own thing. So we have built a interface where you can build agents for your use case. We have a bunch of tools integrated, web 2 plus web 3. You can connect your Telegram, you can do swaps, you can yesterday we showed how you can add Alora to that. We do have integrations. So I mean, the whole idea, you want an agent, you come to Skynet, you see all the tools, you can choose out of 8,000 tools, MCPs which are out there. You connect, you put your own case, and you deploy. That's it. So you need a agent for any use case, you come, and obviously we have friends like Morpheus, from Morpheus, who gives us the tooling. So we know that there are tools out there in the market, and we are a orchestration layer on top of that. So you are getting benefited from all the hard work which these teams are doing, but at a much lower work, because it's all visual. You do not need to write a single line of code, and you can build your first agent under 5 minutes. So yeah, that's what we do, and that is a takeaway which users can take, and actually they can go and try it out today.
Amazing. And um, RG, what do you guys have been cooking up, and like would love to know, and would love to let our audience know as well.
Yeah, so our what the platform we're building is go build your agents on Skynet and Morpheus using Morpheus, and come publish them on Repo. Repo is building a the way we're building Repo.ai is it's a platform where we don't really care how and where you build your agents, which framework, Web 2, Web 3. We are basically building this layer where you publish your agents, apps, images, videos. Down the line, we're actually working with a robotics company right now, and you can publish collaborations working with robots. And on the other side, people basically vote for whichever the highest quality collaboration is. And that could mean a lot of things. We're basically trying to capture that subjectivity, aka human preferences. And then you participate in this weekly competition where you can earn up to 10,000 repo tokens. The token isn't live yet. So the whole goal for repo is becoming this engine which creates incentives for layers like Skynet and Morpheus for people to use. Because I think right now, a lot of what we're seeing is people who know the benefits of agents are building them and they're using them. And then, people who understand the benefit of building them in a decentralized manner, they are building on them on Skynet and, platforms like amazing platforms like them. But I think there is still this incentive layer which is missing, where a lot of people are like, okay, let's say I don't need an agent right away. Why? What can I do? What else can I do? And I think on Repo, by creating this kind of mixing, we almost think of ourselves as like an AI training data and data training, AI training data engine disguised as a prediction market. So you can participate in this prediction market where maybe you created a cool agent on Skynet, with Morpheus tooling, and then you published on repo. Takes about like less than 2 minutes, costs like a few cents. You publish it, and the next thing you know is, you were the highest voted agent. Not only do you get feedback on your agent, but you also are getting rewards, real world rewards. And I think the best part about this is that, you're also helping shape and train the next set of AI systems and models. I think that's the power of feedback loops and RLHF. So really, I think that's the beauty. And I think from my perspective, the last thing I'll say is more and more projects need to move away from fighting, to like get people and users to use their own framework and say like this is why this is what's like why this is so much better. I think the reason X02 and that kind of protocol took off because it was very clear like why to use it, versus I think today we have a lot of different agentic frameworks by like L1 chains, just for the sake of it in some cases. And I think it's not the value proposition isn't very clear. So yeah, I think we just need to move from allowing builders to choose wherever they want to build and just focus on the the benefit that it brings to the user.
Pretty amazing. I think I love what Repo has been doing for quite some time now. Like, I was trying to get a hold of you like into one of our streams, and finally I got you. And pretty happy to see what you guys have done. And David, over to you. Like, I personally know what Morpheus has been doing, and we all know, but would love to hear from you and what you guys are up to right now, and what are things cooking up. And yeah.
I think the big change this year is a focus on light clients. So a lot of 2024 was building the infrastructure, right? The inference, the capital, the coding tools. Now the users can actually use the agents. They can access the chat. They can get rewards from the builders. We've already seen over 1.5 million more tokens staked towards builders in the ecosystem. So now there's over 100 projects building on Morpheus. I think that's really the key. A lot of crypto is how do we extend these economic incentives in order to create these positive feedback loops that you were talking about. And so for Morpheus, I think about it as driving the demand for people using the agents, and it's hooking together all the different pieces of the ecosystem, supporting the different decentralized AI projects. So Morpheus is not providing any compute, it's not providing any agents, it's creating the demand for those, right? And it's pointing at these different projects in order to support them. So I often compare it to Ethereum and what it did for smart contracts. I think really Morpheus has the opportunity to do that for smart agents and basically connect the infrastructure together so that we can build demand and sort of create the economic framework where everybody wins. When somebody uses an agent, the compute provider is paid, the person can stake toward it, it is rewarded for creating that agent. There's all these positive feedback loops that happen. So, but I think the big challenge is how do you create an interface that's easy to use, that can get to the mass market? And we're starting to see that, right? Venice has crossed 1 million users, right? That's the first project on Morpheus basically to go mainstream, right? Where people don't even know it has anything to do with crypto or Web3. It's just a beautiful free AI, private and uncensored. Great. They can put it on their phone and just use it, right? And where has it gone viral? Yeah. It's in South America. It's in Asia. It's in places where people don't want to pay $100 a month for OpenAI or Google or something like that. And so, I think that's the opportunity. We have to remind ourselves that's the audience we can serve.
And do you think like purchasing power parity plays a role in this? Like, again, question for all, like, I'm actually curious about this.
I mean, before David answer this, sorry to cut you guys. There is an interesting thing which I have noticed about Venice is, I am in a lot of subreddits related to AI because, there is a lot of discussions going there a lot. And actually, I have seen in a few of the subreddits, people were like praising Venice because, it's uncensored. So they wanted few inputs, and it's obviously SFW, but about some particular politician, about some specific geography, and a lot of different bunch of stuff. and people were pissed off. Like, bro, I'm asking about this reason why ChatGPT is not giving me any answers, why it is not letting me frame this, why when I'm asking a counter question, it's like it's we cannot answer this because of our terms and policy. And even I encountered this. You go to Claude, I was talking to it, and suddenly it does, sorry boss, I can't answer this. So this is also a use case which has been picking up, and the way I see it has been mostly organic, because that thing has nothing to do with crypto. And the people who are writing there, they are in a AI subreddit, they don't know anything about crypto, but still they're using that. So yeah,
Yeah.
over to
I
you,
mean, the
Tim.
product should be so good that you don't realize it's
Very true.
crypto. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean
100%.
that's what everybody eventually is trying to reach in terms of that. But it's been a minute, like I think I love the whole analogy, and I love having you guys on this, and specifically your takes on decentralized AI. And we wish that there is a whole gap in education for decentralized AI, and I think fortunately or unfortunately we are the flag bearers of decentralized AI, and we are fighting the yes guys, we are part of the resistance now. So and it's time, like, we create better products, and we sense into the larger consumer base. And it's an absolute pleasure having all of you on this. And yeah, and this is 1 minute chill time, which we definitely give to our guest. In 1 minute, you gotta tell about what is something that we have to look and keep our eyes on from your project specifically. And like, we can start from David, RG, and Saurabh. Like, we can go in respective order.
Sure. Super simple. Morpheus started in the Ethereum community, but it's about to expand to wrapped Bitcoin and stablecoins via integration with Aave. So keep an eye on the version 2 of the Capital Smart contracts. They just finished audits. Looks like they'll be going into production in a few weeks. So everybody, Morpheus is for everybody, not just Ethereum people, but Bitcoin people. It's for everybody, right? And so if you're interested in being involved, one of the things I love about Morpheus is I can stake it and I can earn the rewards, but then I can always take my liquidity, right? It's non-custodial and there's no risk to my principals. So, if you're interested in that, but you didn't have ETH to stake, soon you're gonna be able to stake Bitcoin or stables, which is really cool.
Yeah. Pretty nice. RG, over to you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think on Repo, so far we did a GTM with live coded apps, but we're expanding to other creative works. So I think I'm not sure if it's already possible, but if you go to Repo.ai, you can generate images, videos using VO3, any sort of anything that you've built with AI, any that you consider as creative, you can publish it on Repo. And in the next bit, we'll be giving VE Repo access to anyone who's participating in this testnet phase. And yeah, I think by participating on Repo.ai, by publishing your work, what you're really doing is you're taking the kind of the dominant preference data that ChatGPT has and these big labs have, and you're bringing it out and allowing other people to fine tune and also build better models that can enable things that Saurabh and David were just talking about. Because at the end of the day, we need a lot of preference data to understand what people really want, and that's kind of I think the last thing I'll also say is Balaji had a great piece on this recently where he was saying there's going to be many different AGIs based on different cultures. So I think if we really want to move to that world, we need to make sure that those cultural preferences are captured well, so that we don't get into another colonized mindset where the Western kind of AI is influencing the AI usage in other countries. So it's all very interconnected. But I think the step one is build your agents on Skynet using Morpheus tooling and publish it on Repo. So that's it.
Yeah, perfect.
Amazing.
I think I'll also keep it very short since I sold it for a minute or two. So if you want to build an agent, it's your first time, doesn't matter you are developer or not. You want to get access to world-class tooling, you just come to Skynet, you log in, you choose your tools, you drag and drop, you connect the nodes. It's so simple that it will take you minutes and your first agent will be up in less than 5 minutes. So we allow anyone and everyone to create agents to accelerate the whole AI agent economy. And obviously use Morpheus tooling and publish on repo if you want to, make it better. So yeah, that's all.
Amazing. And there is one last part of this. We have one audience question. Hello, I'm under the water. If we use centralized AI, we all are. So it's time for us that we move to decentralized AI. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being here. It's always an absolute pleasure to have you all. And keep watching this until next episode. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.